The market was loud and crowded. Voices from every corner of the galaxy filled the air. Traders shouted prices. Guards barked orders. Lights blinked. Machines beeped. The main auction stage stood high in the center, lit by red and yellow beams. The crowd gathered to watch, some with excitement, others with cold eyes. Brent stood near the edge of the crowd, his hands deep in his jacket pockets. He worked at Dock 6 as a cargo tech, moving crates and fixing lifters. He had no reason to be here. He didn't like auctions. They were cruel. People sold things that should never be sold. Still, something had pulled him here today. On the stage, aliens were brought out one by one. Some looked strong and proud. Others were tired and broken. Each wore a collar. Each was shown like a thing, not a person. The traders called them property. Bren looked away often, but he stayed. Then she was brought out. She walked slowly, her head slightly down. Her skin was pale gold, her eyes dark like space. Her hair was silver white and cut short. A chain hung from her cuffs, but she did not drag her feet. She moved with quiet strength, even in silence. The trader beside her spoke loud. This one's a rare catch, humanoid, fully trained, silent, loyal. She responds to command, no fight, no tricks. Perfect for private service. High demand type. We start the bid at 1,000 credits. Some in the crowd laughed. Others watched with interest. A creature near the front raised a hand. 500. She looks dull. 700. Said another. She's clean. The trader's smile faded. Come now. This one is worth twice that. Do you not see the quality? But the crowd did not seem impressed. Many had seen such types before. To them, she was just another trained servant. Bren kept watching. There was something wrong. Something different. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't empty. Her eyes were not lost like the others. She scanned the crowd, not in panic, but with focus. Her gaze moved across the faces like she was searching for something or someone. Then her eyes met his. Bren felt a shock in his chest. It was not fear or magic. It was something deeper. For a second, the noise of the market faded. Her gaze locked on his, steady and calm. Then she did something strange. She tilted her head just slightly, just enough for him to notice. Her lips moved, but no sound came. He read the words clearly. Take me home. He stepped back. Did she say that? Was it a trick? He looked around. No one else seemed to notice. The trader waved his hand. No more bids. Last chance. Bren looked at her again. Her eyes still held his. He raised his hand. 1,000 credits. The crowd turned to stare at him. He felt the weight of their eyes. He was just a cargo tech. No one expected him to speak. The trader blinked. A new bid from the human. 1,000. Do I hear more? No answer. Silence. Sold. The trader stepped aside. Guards moved in to unkind her and hand her over. Bren's heart beat fast. What had he done? He didn't have a plan. He didn't even know if he had enough credits in his account. But it was too late to step back. She walked toward him with calm steps. No fear. No shame. She stood beside him as the guard gave him a control key for the collar. Standard rules. Said the guard, you break it, you keep it, you set her loose, you pay a fine, keep her locked and scanned at all times. Bren nodded without a word. He led her out of the market slowly, unsure of what to do next. She stayed close behind, not speaking. People stared as they passed, but no one stopped them. They reached Dock 6. Bren took her to his small workroom near the back of the cargo bay. Inside were tools, parts, and one fold-out bed. He pointed to the seat. You can sit there, he said. She sat without question. He looked at her. Again, up close. She seemed even more human than he had thought. Her eyes, though dark, were sharp. Her hands were steady. She watched everything around her. What's your name? He asked. She stayed quiet. He tried again. Can you talk? She nodded. Then, why me? He asked. Why say that to me? She looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke. Soft but clear. Because you looked like you still had a soul. Bren frowned. I don't understand. They call me a pet, she said. But I am not. I waited for the right eyes. Yours did not want to own. Yours wanted to help. He sat down across from her, still confused. What are you then? She looked around to be sure they were alone. My name is Luma, she said, and I need your help. If you keep me here, they will find me. If you set me free, they will chase us both. But if you help me escape the station, I can lead you to something worth more than all their credits. Bren leaned back. What is it? She gave a small smile. Hope. The room fell quiet again. Outside, the station lights blinked and buzzed. Somewhere, another auction began. But in this small room, something else had started. Bren didn't know where this path would lead. He only knew one thing. He wasn't going to let her go back in chains. The room was quiet. Only the soft hum of the station's engines could be heard. Bren sat on a stool beside the metal table, staring at the floor. Luma sat across from him, her hands folded in her lap. The collar was still around her neck, but her posture showed no fear. Bren looked up. Do you know how to take off that collar? He asked. Luma nodded. He raised an eyebrow. Why don't you? She leaned forward slightly. Because if I take it off now, the station will be alerted. The collar has a tracking chip. If removed without the right code, it sends a signal to the auction security team. Bren ran a hand through his short hair. So we have to do it carefully, yes? Luma said. But I know the code. Bren stood up and paced the small room. His tools were scattered across the workbench. A small screen in the corner blinked with alerts from the cargo systems. Outside, he could hear workers shouting orders and machines moving crates. If we're going to leave, he said, we need a ship. I can fly one, Luma said calmly. Bren turned to her. You can? I learned while in training. I was taught many things. Speaking, observing, piloting. They trained me to please. But they also trained me to serve in every way. He frowned. You remember all of it? I remember everything, she said. He nodded. Then we'll take a maintenance ship. I have access to Bay 9. No one checks those logs too closely. Luma looked at him with steady eyes. We must move soon. The longer we wait, the more eyes will be on us. Bren walked to the small storage cabinet and pulled out a plain gray jacket. Put this on. It'll help you blend in. She slipped it over her shoulders and pulled the hood up. Her silver white hair disappeared under the cloth. The collar was still visible, but in the dim light, it looked like part of the jacket. Bren checked the hallway outside. No one was near. Follow me, he said. They walked quickly but calmly through the metal corridors. Bren kept his head down. Luma moved behind him like a shadow. They passed 2 officers, but neither gave them more than a glance. To them, Bren was just another worker, and she was just another servant. At Bay 9, the doors were locked. Bren pulled out his ID chip and scanned it. The light blinked green, and the doors slid open. Inside, the small ship waited. It was old and dusty but still working. The kind of ship no one cared much about. Luma stepped inside and looked around the cockpit. This will do, she said. Bren closed the door behind them. Can you shut off the trackers once we're inside? She nodded. Yes, but first I must remove the collar. She sat in the co-pilot seat and touched the small panel on the side of her collar. Her fingers moved quickly, entering a long code. After a few seconds, the collar clicked open and dropped to the floor. Bren watched in silence. She rubbed her neck gently. I have not felt air on my skin in many years, she said. He gave a small smile. It looks better off. She turned to the console and began typing commands. I am blocking the station's tracking system. We have 5 minutes before someone notices the ship has launched. Then let's not waste time, Bren said. Sliding into the pilot's seat, Luma looked at him. Are you ready to run? He gave a short laugh. Not really, but I think we're past the point of no return. She pressed a button. The ship's engines came alive with a low roar. Lights blinked. Systems loaded. The control screen showed their course out of the docking ring. Bren took a deep breath. Let's fly. The ship lifted slowly, turning toward the exit tunnel. The outer gates were still closed. Luma tapped another button. Opening manual override. Will that set off an alarm? Brent asked. Yes, she said. But we'll be gone before they can stop us. The gates opened, and the stars beyond sparkled in the darkness. The tunnel lights flashed red as warning signals began to ring across the station. Unauthorized launch from Bay 9. A voice shouted over the station's speakers. Luma looked at Brent. Now, he pushed the controls forward, and the ship shot into space. Behind them, alarms continued to sound. 2 small patrol crafts began to follow. We've got company, Brent said. I see them, Luma replied. Turn left and dive below the asteroid field. I'll send a false signal to make them think we went the other way. Brent followed her instructions. The ship dipped low and flew into the dark edge of a nearby asteroid cluster. It was dangerous, but the rocks gave them cover. Luma activated the decoy signal on the patrol ship's screens. The escapees now seemed to be heading toward the nearby fuel station. The patrol crafts changed course. They took the bait, Luma said. Brent let out a breath of relief. Nice work. They flew in silence for a few minutes. Then Luma leaned back in her seat. We are safe for now, she said. Brent looked over at her. Do you have a place in mind? Somewhere we can hide. Yes, she said. But first, we must talk. He nodded. About what? About who I really am, she said. And why they took me. Brent leaned back in his seat and waited. Luma looked at the stars ahead. I was not born in a cage. I came from a place that is now lost, and I carry something they want. Brent said nothing. He knew this was just the beginning. The stars stretched. Before them, behind, the station faded into the black. They had escaped, but the real journey had just begun. The stars outside the ship moved slowly. The small maintenance ship glided through space, away from the trade station and its watchful eyes. Inside, the lights were dim. Brent sat in the pilot's seat, his hand still on the controls. Luma sat beside him, calm and quiet. They had not spoken much since their escape. Now, the silence felt heavy. Brent turned to her. You said we need to talk. Luma gave a small nod. Yes. You should know the truth. Brent leaned back in his seat. All right. Tell me who you really are. She paused before speaking. Her voice was low, steady. My name is Luma. I was born on a planet called Orcs. It was a peaceful world, rich with knowledge and beauty. My people were known for our learning, not for war. Brent listened closely. I was the daughter of a diplomat, she continued. My mother worked to keep peace between many systems. She traveled often and taught me to speak many languages. We were not fighters. We believed in solving problems with words. What happened? Brent asked. They came in the night. Luma said, a group called the Syndicate, a powerful network that deals in secret trade, information, and control. They do not follow laws. They do not care about peace. They wanted something from Reese, something hidden in our ancient records. She looked down for a moment, then continued. When we refused to help them, they attacked. My home was destroyed. My people were taken. Many were sold. Others were made into workers or worse. I was one of the youngest, and because of how I looked, they marked me as special. Brent frowned. They called you a pet. She nodded. They trained me, broke me down, and sold me more than once. But they never truly controlled me. I remembered everything, every face, every voice, every detail. I kept it all inside. She looked up at him. I waited for the right time, the right person. Brent asked, why me? Because you didn't look at me the way others did, she said. You looked angry. Not at me, but at the system, at the way people were treated. I saw it in your eyes. He stayed quiet for a moment. Then he asked, what did they want from Reese? She leaned forward slightly. My people kept records, maps, coordinates, and histories from thousands of years ago. Some of those records tell of hidden colonies and lost technologies. The Syndicate wants that information. They believe it could help them control even more systems. Do you know where those records are? Brent asked. Yes, Luma said. I memorized them. My mother taught me before the end. That is why. They kept me alive, but they did not know I had the knowledge they wanted. Brent rubbed his hands together. If they find out, they'll come after you. They already are, she said. They track every sail, every movement. If they learn I escaped with help, they will also come for you. Bren let out a slow breath. Then we'll need a plan. Luma gave a small smile. You're not afraid. I'm smart enough to be afraid, Bren said, but I won't turn back now. Luma stood and walked toward the back of the ship. There was a small storage area and a narrow bench for sleeping. She sat down, her back against the wall. I haven't slept freely in a long time, she said. Bren turned in his seat. You can rest. I'll keep watch. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. You should also know this. The information I carry is not just history. There's a place, a real place, hidden from most maps. It is where the last free people of Reese might still live. Bren's eyes widened. You think your people survived? I believe some did, she said. The records spoke of an escape, a group that left before the final attack. They had ships and knowledge. They may be waiting. If we find them, what then? We tell them the truth. We help them rise again. And we stop the syndicate from doing this to others. Bren stood and walked toward her. That sounds like a big mission for two people in a stolen ship. Luma looked up at him. Then we find more people. Good people, he smiled. That I can do. She gave a soft laugh. It was the first time he had heard her laugh. It was quiet, but it felt real. You're not what I expected, she said. Neither are you, he replied. The ship beeped softly. A signal appeared on the screen. Bren walked back to the controls. We're nearing the edge of the belt. After that, we'll be in open space. Good, Luma said. There's a station a few jumps from here. It's small, forgotten, but safe. We can hide there for a while. Bren nodded. You need a new name, something simple. Luma thought for a moment. Call me Lumi. It's close, but not the same. Lumi, he repeated. All right, Lumi it is. As the stars stretched outside the windows, Bren set the course. Lumi leaned back against the wall, her eyes slowly closing. For the first time in years, she was free. For the first time in his life, Bren felt like he was part of something greater than himself. They were not just running. They were beginning a journey. A quiet ship moved through the darkness, but its mission carried the weight of a world. The ship moved quietly through deep space. Outside, stars drifted by like slow-moving lights. Inside, Bren checked the control panel while Lumi sat beside him, her eyes focused on the screen. Both were silent, but not tired. Their minds were awake, thinking about the next step. They had left the syndicate's reach for now, but danger still followed. Bren leaned forward. We're close to the station you mentioned. Do you think it's safe? Lumi nodded. Yes, it's an old fuel stop. Not many ships go there anymore. No patrols, just traders and silent workers. We can land, fix the ship, and rest. As she spoke, a small red light began blinking on the main screen. Bren pressed a button, and a soft voice filled the cabin. Distress signal received. Source, human vessel. Status, critical. Location, Sector 9, drift field. Bren looked at Lumi. That's close. She checked the map. Only one jump away. He hesitated. If we go, we take a risk. If we don't, someone might die. Lumi didn't answer right away. Then she said, if we had sent a signal, would you have come for me? Bren nodded. Yes. Then we go. He smiled and adjusted the controls. The ship turned slightly, and the engines hummed louder as it moved toward the new location. The jump took only a few minutes. When they arrived, everything was dark. The drift field was a broken part of space. It was filled with old ship parts, floating rocks, and leftover wreckage from past battles. Among the junk, they saw a small ship with lights flickering. Its hull was cracked. One wing was gone. Bren slowed the ship. This must be it. They opened a channel. This is maintenance ship 7K9. We received your signal. Do you need help? A tired voice replied. This is the Earth vessel Sand Spirit. We were attacked by unknown ships. Powers failing. One injured, two alive. Bren looked at Lumi. She gave a short nod. Prepare for docking. Bren set into the MiG. They connected their ship to the side of the Sand Spirit using the Magnetic clamps. The door hissed open. Bren grabbed a toolkit and a first aid box. Lumi followed, keeping her eyes sharp. Inside, the Earth ship was small and damaged. Sparks flew from a broken panel. A young man sat near the wall, holding a bandage over his arm. Beside him, a woman stood with a tool in her hand. Her eyes widened when she saw Bren and Lumi. "We didn't expect help this fast," the woman said. "We were close," Bren replied. "I'm Mira. This is Tom. The others didn't make it." Lumi stepped forward. "We're sorry." Bren knelt beside Tom and checked his arm. The wound wasn't deep, but it was bleeding. "You'll be fine," Bren said. "We'll take you to safety." Mira nodded. "We were carrying supplies from one station to another. Small job. Nothing important." Then the fast ships appeared. No warning. They fired without speaking. We tried to run, but took too much damage. "Did they follow you?" Lumi asked. "I don't think so," Mira said. "We drifted into the field and sent the signal. We've been hiding." Bren stood. "We need to leave before someone finds us." Back on their ship, Lumi helped Tom into the resting seat while Bren checked the fuel levels. "We'll need to make a stop soon," he said. Mira stood beside him. "Why are you helping us?" Bren looked at Lumi. She stepped forward. "Because we know what it feels like to be left behind," Lumi said. "And because we're not just running. We're looking for something, maybe. You can help us too." Mira looked curious. "What are you looking for?" "A place that holds the truth," Lumi said. "A hidden colony, a home that was lost long ago. If we find it, we can stop people like the ones who attacked you." Tom spoke from his seat. "You mean the Syndicate?" Bren turned quickly. "You know them? They've been taking over trade routes," Tom said. "Pay or disappear. That's their way. We thought this run was safe, but I guess no one is safe anymore." Lumi sat down across from him. "Then maybe you should come with us." Mira raised her eyebrow. "Go where?" "To a place where we fight back," Bren said. The small room fell quiet. Outside, the stars continued to move. Mira looked at Tom, then back at Lumi and Bren. "You don't look like fighters." "We're not," Bren said. "But we're done watching." Tom gave a small nod. "Then count us in." "They flew, you said." The stars outside burned quietly, but inside the ship, tension filled the air. Bren sat in the pilot's seat, his eyes fixed on the screen. Lumi stood beside him, checking coordinates. Mira and Tom worked on the back panel, trying to boost the ship's power. It had been 2 days since they rescued Mira and Tom. The group now moved together as a team. The mission was no longer just an escape. It was something bigger. They were heading to a forgotten moon. Lumi said it was the location of an old archive, a hidden base where the truth about Reese and the Syndicate was buried. The Syndicate had tried to destroy all traces of it, but some data still remained there. Lumi remembered the path. Bren checked the scanner. "Nothing on the radar. We're clear." Lumi looked at the star map. "We'll reach the moon in 4 hours." Mira entered the front cabin, wiping grease from her hands. "The power system is stable now. Won't last forever, but enough to get us there." Tom followed her, holding a small device, and I boosted the comm signal. "But that means others might pick it up too." Bren turned to Lumi. "Think they're still tracking you?" Lumi nodded. "If they hear any hint of my name, they will come." Mira crossed her arms. "Then let's not use your name." Lumi smiled faintly. "Too late for that. We're already in the storm." Bren stood and walked to the back room. He opened a metal box and pulled out a small datapad. Inside was a collection of old Earth war logs, strategies, defense plans, and survival tips. He had downloaded them long ago, thinking he would never use them. Now, they were his guide. He brought the pad to the group. "We might need to fight, not just run." Tom raised an eyebrow. "You know how to fight." "Not much," Bren said. "But I know how to plan. And I've been reading." Lumi stepped closer. "Good. Because the Syndicate never forgets a missing name. If they find us, they won't ask questions." Suddenly, the scanner beeped. Mira rushed to the screen. 2 ships, fast, not marked, coming from behind. Bren's hands flew to the controls. "How far?" 5 minutes, maybe less. Mira answered. They found us, Lumi said. Bren looked around. Everyone to your seats. Strap in. The ship turned sharply. Diving toward a small asteroid belt ahead, Bren used the belt for cover, moving between rocks and debris. The attackers followed close behind. They're gaining, Tom said. We need something unexpected, Lumi said. Bren thought fast. I'm taking us through the dust cloud. It's thick, but it might hide us. You'll be flying blind, Mira warned. I'll take the risk. Bren replied. The ship entered the thick gray cloud. Visibility dropped. Lights flashed across the windows. The attackers fired, but the dust scattered the shots. Bren turned off the main lights and dropped power to minimum. Hold still, Lumi whispered. Let them pass. Outside, the enemy ships searched, moving fast but missing there. Mark! One passed close to their ship, then moved away. The other followed, after a few minutes. The scanners showed no movement. They're gone, Mira said with a deep breath. Bren let the ship drift for a while longer before turning the power back on. We'll reach the archive soon, Lumi said. They flew in silence until the moon came into view. It was dark, with broken cliffs and deep shadows. Bren landed the ship near a flat stone path. The base entrance was hidden under a pile of rocks. Lumi led them there. She placed her hand on a small panel. A soft blue light blinked, and the rocks moved aside, revealing a metal door. You remember all this? Mira asked. Yes, Lumi said. My mother brought me here once, before the fall. They stepped inside. The air was cold. The hallway was narrow and filled with dust. Lights flickered as the system came to life. They passed rooms with old computers, chairs, and broken glass dot at the center. They reached the archive core. Lumi stepped forward and touched the console. It lit up, reading her fingerprint. Access granted. A soft voice said. The screen showed maps, files, images, and recordings. This is it, Lumi said. Everything the syndicate tried to hide. Bren looked at the files. Can we copy it? Yes, Lumi said. But we should also send it to who? Tom asked. To everyone, Lumi said. To every channel, every system. The truth should be seen. Mira nodded. I'll help with the signal. They worked quickly, copying the files and connecting to the ship's antenna. Within minutes, the truth was spreading across space. Video clips of stolen people, maps of syndicate, bases, proof of broken laws. But as the signal went out, so did their location. They'll know we're here. Bren said. They'll come, Lumi replied. Then we get ready, he said. He looked around the base. There were old turrets, power lines, and sealed doors. With the help of the earth logs, Bren began placing traps and shields. Tom and Mira followed his lead. Lumi reactivated the base's defense system. As the stars above grew brighter. The team stood side by side. They were not soldiers, not heroes, just people who had seen too much. But they were ready to protect what they had found. The truth was out now, and the hunt had truly begun. The old moon base was no longer silent. Screens blinked with light. Doors that had been shut for years now stood open. Inside, the air was filled with voices, some nervous, some calm, but all alert. Bren walked across the control room, checking the defense systems. Turrets were online. The shield gate had enough power to hold for a short time. It was not perfect, but it was better than nothing. Lumi stood near the main console, watching the star map. Red dots showed syndicate ships closing in. She pressed a few buttons and spoke in a clear voice. They are 3 hours away. Mira stepped beside her. How many? Lumi looked at the screen. 4 ships, 2 scouts, 1 heavy fighter, 1 carrier. Tom whistled low. That's more than a simple strike team. They want to erase us, Lumi said, and erase the truth. Bren turned toward the others. Then we give them a fight they'll remember. They spent the next 2 hours preparing. Bren laid traps across the outer rocks, small charges, and motion sensors. Mira worked on the old turrets, fixing wires and loading what little ammo remained. Tom checked the power system, adjusting the shield timing for better defense. Lumi stayed at the console, watching every movement. Her fingers moved fast, sending signals, warning messages, and coordinates to anyone who had listened to their broadcast. She paused once and whispered, "Please answer, anyone." For a while, no one did. The syndicate ships came closer. Inside the base, the lights dimmed as power was pulled to the defense grid. The group took their places. Bren stood at the main door, with a pulse rifle he had found in the storage room. Mira held a small cannon on the side ridge. Tom waited by the power core, ready to repair anything that failed. Lumi stood in the middle of the control room, her eyes fixed on the incoming signal. Then a sound broke the silence. A voice crackled through the radio. "This is Captain Relo of the Freebound. We received your message." Lumi's eyes widened. "Freebound? Are you real?" "Very real." The voice said, "We were released before the fall. Some of us escaped. We hid, waiting for a sign. We saw your broadcast. We're coming." "How far?" Lumi asked. 2 hours, the voice replied. "Hold the line until then." Bren laughed softly. "Looks like someone heard you." Lumi turned to the others. "Help is coming." Mira smiled. "Then let's make sure we're still standing when they get here." Outside, the sky changed. The syndicate ships entered the moon's orbit. Lights blinked across their hulls. Loudspeakers echoed across the rocks. "This is your only warning. Shut down your signal and come out." Bren answered with silence. The first blast came fast. The rocks shook as the scouts fired at the main gate. Dust filled the air. The turrets returned fire, striking one of the scout ships and sending it spinning into the ground. Tom cheered from inside. Direct hit. The syndicate carrier stayed in the air. Firing from a distance, drones dropped onto the cliffs, marching toward the base. Lumi watched them on the screen. "They're trying to break in." Bren clicked his mic. "Ready on the ridge?" Mira's voice came through. "Ready." She fired the cannon, knocking out a group of drones. The rest scattered and returned fire. The base shook again. A small wall near the left side fell. Tom ran to the backup panel, shield level dropping. "We're at 60%. Bren looked at Lumi. "How much longer until the Freebound arrive?" Lumi checked the signal. 1 hour and 20 minutes. "We hold," Bren said. The next wave came harder. The heavy fighter dropped low, targeting the gate. Bren fired from cover, aiming for its wing. Mira hit its side with a power burst, forcing it to rise. The drones pushed forward, reaching the base walls. A loud crash came from the north side. "Gate breach," Tom shouted. Bren ran toward the door, meeting the first wave of syndicate bots. He fired, hitting two before they stepped in. Lumi joined him, using a shock tool to disable one of the machines. Together, they pushed them back. Inch by inch, every breath felt heavy, every second stretched. Bren's arm bled, but he kept moving. Lumi had a cut on her cheek, but she did not stop. "This is what they tried to silence," she said. "People who don't give up." Time passed like sand falling through broken glass. Then a voice rang through the radio again. "This is the Freebound. We see your signal. Prepare for support." In the sky above, new ships appeared, sleek, silver, and marked with the sign of Reese. They moved fast, firing at the syndicate carrier. The air lit up with fire and light. Cheers rose from inside the base. Bren dropped behind cover, breathing hard. They made it. The Freebound ships moved with precision. Within minutes, the syndicate scouts were down. The drones stopped moving. The carrier tried to flee, but a blast from the lead ship hit its engine, sending it spinning into the far stars. Silence returned. Lumi stood at the door, looking at the sky. A ship landed near the base. From inside, a group stepped out. One of them, a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, walked toward Lumi. "Are you the one who sent the call?" the woman asked. Lumi nodded. "Yes, I'm Commander Rhea. I knew your mother." Lumi's eyes filled with tears. She said someone might still be out there. Rhea placed a hand on her shoulder. She was right. "You gave us the sign we waited for. Reese is not lost. It lives in you." Bren stepped forward, covered in dust but smiling. Commander Rhea looked at him. "You helped her." Bren nodded. "I just listened. You did more than that," Rhea said. "You gave her a chance to rise." The stars above were quiet again. But something had changed. The truth was no longer buried. The people of Reese were no longer forgotten. The fight was not over. But the first battle was won. The sky over the old moon was quiet now. Smoke floated in the air, rising from broken machines and scattered drums. Pieces of Syndicate ships still burned in the far hills. But inside the base, there was light, warm light, the kind that comes after a long night. Brent sat near the wall, resting his back against a steel beam. His arm was wrapped in bandages. His jacket was torn, and dust covered his boots. But there was a calm in his face, the kind that only comes when something big has ended. Lumi stood at the center of the control room. Her hands moved over the screen, checking the data. More signals were coming in now. Small ships, independent stations, hidden colonies, all reaching out, all answering the message they had sent. The truth had traveled far. Commander Ray walked beside her. The leader of the Freebound had sharp eyes and a voice that gave strength to those around her. She placed a gentle hand on Lumi's shoulder. "You brought them together," Rhea said. "All of them." Lumi nodded. "But the Syndicate is not gone. This was only one battle." Rhea smiled. "And still, it matters. People saw what was hidden. They saw your face. They heard your voice. And now they are waking up." Brent stood and walked toward them. "What happens next? We gather," Rhea said. "We return to the place we once called home. The last colony of Reese, hidden for years, waiting." Lumi turned. "You know where it is," Rhea nodded. "We build it deep inside the mist cloud, far beyond the mapped lanes. You helped us find the missing path. It's time you saw it for yourself." Lumi looked at Brent. He gave a small smile. "If you're going," he said, "I'm going to, too." Days later, the stars stretched ahead like a soft river. Lumi sat beside Brent in the cockpit of the Freebound ship. It was larger than the one they had escaped in, cleaner, stronger. But the view was the same. Endless stars in quiet space. Behind them, Mira and Tom sat with other Freebound members. They were learning, training, preparing for the days to come. Lumi looked out the window. "I used to dream about this. I used to wonder if my people were still out there, if they remembered who they were." Brent nodded. "Now they will." As they entered the mist cloud, everything outside turned white. Thick fog covered the stars. For a moment, it felt like they were floating through a dream. Then lights appeared. A city, hidden inside the cloud. Tall towers, silver domes, long roads across green fields. Ships moved above and below, smooth and silent. People walked across open bridges. Children ran across parks. Music echoed from the central square. Lumi's eyes filled with tears. "They survived," she whispered. "They truly survived." The ship landed on a quiet platform. A group of people waited at the base of the ramp. Some wore simple robes, others held tools and books. An older man stepped forward. His eyes looked tired, but kind. "Welcome home," he said to Lumi. She stepped down slowly. Her hands shook a little. She looked at the man. "I am Luma, daughter of Sira of Reese." The man nodded. "I knew your mother. She sent us the message before the end. She believed one day you would return." Brent stood behind her, quiet. He didn't speak. This was her moment. The man stepped aside. "Come, all of you. We have much to share." Inside the city, Lumi saw faces like hers. People who spoke her language. Children who played without fear. Families who still remember the old songs of Reese. They showed her a hall of memory, where the names of the fallen were written on crystal walls. She found her mother's name. She placed her hand on it and closed her eyes. "She didn't die for nothing," Lumi whispered. "She gave me a path." Later, in the main hall, the leaders of the Freebound and the last colony gathered. Lumi stood before them. "I'm not the same girl who was taken from this place," she said. "I was broken, shaped, sold, but I never forgot who I was." She looked across the crowd, and I was not alone. A stranger looked into my eyes and saw more than chains. He saw a person, and because of him, I stand here now, free. Her eyes found Bren, who stood near the back. He gave a small nod. "Nothing More, but she felt it deeply. The syndicate tried to erase us, she said. They called us tools, pets, servants, but we are none of those things. We are people. We are voices. We are memory. The room stayed silent for a moment. Then came the applause. Afterward, Brent stood outside the hall, watching the stars through a clear panel. Lumi walked beside him. You did more than listen, she said softly. You stayed. Brent smiled. I didn't have a reason to leave. She looked at the stars. Will you stay now? He looked around at the city, the people, the peace that had started to return. I think I found my place, he said. Lumi took a deep breath. Then let's build something new, together. And there, on the edge of forgotten space, among people who once had no voice, a new light began to shine. It was not loud, not fast, but steady, a home built not just from stone, but from hope.